We talked about, no. Yeah, it's easier for the camel to go through an eye of the needle. Anyone else? Anything we've talked about the past few weeks? Have you even been here? No. I mean, no, we haven't talked about that. You weren't even here. Madison. Yeah, try to avoid going into debt. Yes. What? I'm not sure what you're saying. Your reward in heaven, yes, but if you give people money, that doesn't necessarily mean you'll get more money. Unless it's like a Mr. Beast video or something. Oh, is that how that works? All right, well, good. I'm glad we're talking about addition and subtraction because we're going to talk about that a lot tonight. Actually, before we do, and while we're talking about handing out money, let's hand out some more money for, you can go to the next slide, the people who have completed the Devo reading for today already. And it looks like that is Ellie, Lily, and Madison have completed today's reading already. So there's a crisp $1 million bill for you.
What is this insanity?
$1 million, dude. Don't spend it all in one place. Inflation, it's not worth as much. So if you're not in our crossover reading plan, you can join via that QR code. It's on the YouVersion Bible app. There's a daily reading. You can comment, share your thoughts. It's a good time. So yeah, these past few weeks, we've been talking about money being a tool, not a value. We've been talking about the rich young ruler. We've been talking about the different ways that Proverbs tells us to avoid going into debt and all that kind of stuff. And today, we're going to talk about what to do with your money once you've got it. So next week, we'll specifically focus, or not next week, but the next time we talk about this, we'll focus on the command to be generous. But for many people, once they learn how to make money, they think, all right, I learned everything I need to know, and they stop learning. Unfortunately, when you do that, it's only like halfway learning anything. Like, what would happen if you only learned halfway how to make a cake, right? What would you end up with? You wouldn't even end up with half a cake. You would end up with just like, if you just mix all the ingredients and you never bake it, you have just like a bad pudding. No, not cookie dough. Wow. All right, so if you only learn the first half of how to change a tire, what's going to happen? You're only going to have 3 tires on your car. If you only learn the first half of how to write a sentence, people assume that once they make money, what to do with it is the part that will just come naturally. And there's some people that go through their entire life feeling like they never have enough because of that. So I can't stress how important it is to learn how to manage money. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Proverbs 21 says this: good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to poverty. We talked a lot about hard work, I think, last week. But hard work alone doesn't lead to prosperity. So tonight we're going to focus on the other half of that we need to have good planning. Because one thing's for sure, if you don't have a plan, your money will disappear. Because really, when we fail to plan, we're really just planning to fail. Sometimes even when you do have a plan, it still disappears. So when it comes to managing your money, when it comes to managing your money, a plan to manage your money is called a budget. And so tonight, we're actually going to get super practical. We're going to look at how to do a budget. So take one, pass it down. Well, you're doing it again. So yeah, we're doing this. You're like, this is church. Why are we doing math class stuff? Well, because sometimes this is something people don't learn until later in life when they're already in debt, and that really sucks. So, and it's a biblical value to steward what God has given you well. So we're going to go over tonight kind of how to do this in a simple fashion. So as those are going around, make sure you grab a pen that works. I know some of them don't. And we're going to look at this very basic accounting sheet, which has a money in column and a money out column. It helps you keep track of all the money that comes into your pocket and all the money that's going out. And this can also be used to create a plan or a budget. Let's see which side of the room can pass the stuff faster. Daxton is in too many side conversations, too. I guess all you kids who do school online now never learned how to take one, pass it down. Too far. Are all those pens really that bad? If they're that bad, don't put them back in the box. Just throw them on the floor. Throw them at Kira. So we'll have to budget for new pens, I guess. I guess that's the real takeaway from tonight. All right, it looks like most of you have a budget and some of you have pens. So we're going to move on and hopefully you'll catch up. So here's how we're going to do this. So everyone, last Friday, you were at work. You can pretend your work was whatever you want. Maybe you were babysitting, maybe you were cutting grass, maybe you were working at Subway, whatever that was. So put last Friday's date. What was last Friday's date? Does anyone know? It was the 14th? The 12th? Go to the next slide. It was the 12th. Yeah, so put 6/12, put the date, and then put in the description whatever you did for a job. Whatever you did for work, whether it was babysitting a giraffe, that's what the person in this example did. And you made $40. So put 40 into the paid in column. Yes, thank you for the visual assistance. So yes, you made $40. That goes in the paid in. And so if you had nothing and now you made $40, what would your balance be? It would be $40. If you had nothing and you add 40, you now have 40. All right, everyone? Everyone understand that part, right? Everyone got the easiest part, right? You made $40, so now you have $40, and you put the day that you made it. So now we're going to start to plan how you're going to spend your money, and most of that will be in the expense column. So let's say you forgot that you borrowed money from a relative, maybe your brother, your sister, mom, dad, uncle, your cat, your dog, I don't know who. But you borrowed money from someone last week. So go ahead and put whatever date you want when you borrowed the money. And write in the description who you borrowed money from. So put a random date, who you borrowed money from. It could be whatever date you want. Put a date there, whatever date you borrowed the money. And that's going to be money you owe. So that's going to be money out, paid out, the spend column. It's $10. You owe someone $10, so you got to budget for that. I know, right? Owing money is the worst. So if you had $40 but you know you owe someone $10, what's your new balance? $30, yes. All right, so, but now that you have money, you remember there's a really cool thing on Amazon you wanted, and that's gonna cost you about $20. So you're gonna plan to buy that. So go ahead and add another line item. The date doesn't really matter here. Whatever you're gonna buy from Amazon, and put the price at, in the paid out is 20. A bubble machine? Nice. Nice, that's a good $20 purchase right there. Oh, okay, so you got like 20 packs of bubbles. Nice. That is what EJ would spend his money on if he could spend it. He asks for bubbles all the time. Yes. All right, so if you had $30 and now you're gonna be spending another 20, how much money do you have left in your balance? $10. Your balance is now $10. And now you're a really smart, wise, educated individual. And so you're gonna save money. You're gonna take that last $10 and you're gonna actually put that into your savings account. And you can go to the next slide. And so even though you're saving the money, you're actually going to list that as a line item. You can go to the next slide. And you're gonna say you're transferring that to your savings, and you're gonna count that as paid out. And then your balance is now 0. So why are we doing that? Because you make, the reason is when your budget's complete, when you can account for every dollar that you have. And so you want to zero out your budget. And so then you know, okay, I had this much money and I've used it all, I've spent it here, or even when you've put it into savings, you've accounted for that. When you get bills, it can be very helpful to have a budget to make sure you're making enough to pay your bills or to see which expenses you're gonna have to cut if it doesn't add up in the end. So we have a very basic budget set up with $40 to spend, and time has passed and you paid your brother back his $10, and you bought the item on Amazon, but it turns out it wasn't $20. It was $19.99 plus tax. Does anyone know what the amount that would actually be? No, I'm just kidding. It was $21.19. So cross out the 20, but go back, we're not ready for that one, sorry. Cross out the 20 for the Amazon, change that to $21.19. You figure it out. And then also you forgot that on your way back from your job, you stopped at a gas station and you got a Dr. Pepper and a Kit Kat, which cost you $4.85. So add that as another expense. So change the Amazon one to $21.19, add the Dr. Pepper $4.85, and if we rebalanced your budget, redoing those numbers, you would find that now you are $6 in debt. It means you've budgeted $6 that you do not have. So that means we have to change something. Something has to give, and you can't undo any of the money you've already spent. So which category is that $6 gonna actually have to come out of? Out of the savings. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to save $10 because you're $6 in debt. So if we went through and did all the math, your readjustment for saving would be only saving $3.96, which you can go to that next slide. And so with the new balance, your savings is actually $3.96 because of tax and your poor decision to spend $3 on a Dr. Pepper at a gas station. I can't relate, ever. Taxes and impulse buys will get you every time. All right, so but you get the idea how to set up a basic budget, right? And we're gonna practice this a little bit more later with actually like a game. But now that we kind of understand, okay, money comes in, money's gonna go out, and you really have to keep track and account for that, because otherwise you end up in debt and the bank comes and takes away your car, breaks your kneecaps, whatever. So there are only 3 things you can do with money. You can spend it, you can keep it, or you can give it away. Anytime you buy something or pay a bill, you're spending money. Obviously, this is the most common thing people do with money. They spend it, and it's not a bad thing. In fact, the Bible tells us if you have a bill as a Christian, the right thing to do is pay that bill. Romans 13:7 says, "Give to everyone what you owe them." If you have money and you don't use it to provide for yourself or for those who you love or are responsible for, the Bible actually has a pretty strong opinion about you. 1 Timothy 5:8 says, "But those who won't care for their relatives, especially those in their own household, have denied the faith. Such people are worse than unbelievers." So God has a really strong opinion that, hey, if you are responsible for someone or you have, a relative, and you have, the means, you should help provide. So it's okay to spend your money. Money is made to be used. And if you're using your money to provide for the needs of those you love, you are doing a godly thing. Of course, we could have a whole discussion about what's a want and what's a need, but we're going to skip that for now. The second thing we can do with our money is keep it. That usually means saving, but that could also be investing it into something that will make money for you, like we talked about last week. Both of these are biblical ways to use money. Proverbs 6:6-8 says, "Take a lesson from the ants, you lazy bones." Call the person next to you a lazy bones. Learn. All right, you're having too much fun with that. Learn from their ways and become wise. They have no prince or governor or ruler to make them work, but they labor hard all summer, gathering food for the winter. Ants gather and save food all summer long because they know food will be scarce in the winter. Their savings help provide for them during those tough times. And so that's why saving is so important, especially if you have, something in the future that is going to be a huge cost, whether that's a car or you're starting to think about college or, whatever that is that you're saving up for. The final way we can use money is by giving it away. You can give an offering at church or to a charity that does great work. You can also use your money to buy gifts for other people, or you can just give it to someone randomly as a blessing. The Bible has a lot to say about giving and generosity, and that's going to be the subject of a later lesson, so we're not going to talk about that too much right now. But let's review. The first thing you need to do when you make money is have a plan. Then you can choose how to spend it, how to keep it, or how to give it away. And so which one should you choose? Spend, keep, or give? The answer is all of them. You should do all 3 of them. But I would suggest and really insist that you do it in the following order. Number 1, give, not spend. Number 1, it's so important to always honor God first with your money. And if you choose to leave giving, or even if you choose to leave saving for last, they probably will not happen, because you will always find there's something else that takes your money. There's always something else to spend it on. And so it's so important to right off the top choose to, really be devoted in honoring God with your finances. And then it also means taking $10 and saving it, because if you're not disciplined in saving, it probably won't happen at the end. So this means if you made $40 from whatever you made $40 from, it means you're going to give $10 to God, It means you're going to it means you're going to give $4 to God, that's 10%. It means you're going to put $4 into saving, that's 10%. And then you have $32 left to cover anything else you budget for. Bills first, your needs, so, having a place to live, having food to eat, that kind of stuff. And then finally, whatever's left over, you can use for whatever else you're going to buy for entertainment. Well, I would suggest doing this way. So, this sounds easy on paper, but most people don't live this way. They spend it all, and most people don't want to spend it all, but if you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail. Failing to plan is planning to fail. And so they spend it all before they can give or save. So let's go over 3 tips as we wrap up, and we're going to play a game. So tip number 1 is plan to take your giving and saving right off the top. Like we said, if you wait till your spending is done, you'll never have any left. I can promise that. No matter how much you make, there is always something that costs more money to spend it on. So plan to give and save before you spend a dime. Take it away before you even miss it, and fight for it. Protect it. Don't let the things you want or crave cut into the money you have set aside for saving and giving. Tip number 2 might seem obvious, but look for ways to spend less. One way that you can actually make your money go farther is by making sure you spend less on the things you're going to buy. For instance, if there's, something you really want, whether it's clothes or a game or, whatever you're saving up for, you can choose to wait for things to go on sale. That's one way to spend less money. You can learn to fix things instead of throwing them out and buying a replacement. You can fight the urge to always be consuming something. You can choose, I really don't need to buy a Dr. Pepper and a Kit Kat every time I go to the gas station. Review your budget and see where you're spending money needlessly and adjust. When you start paying for subscriptions, sometimes you forget you're paying for subscriptions, and then they come out of your account every month and you're not paying attention, and then a year goes by and you're like, oh shoot, I was paying for something that I never used. So I've heard, not that I've, had that experience, but right? No, but that's a horrible feeling when you find out, oh, I was paying for Hulu and I didn't even know I had Hulu and I didn't even watch it, right? So it's so important to review your budget and see where you're spending money needlessly. And also when you have an itemized list that you have all your income and expenses, that's how you'll know, oh wait, why is this not adding up? Why does it seem like I have less money? It helps you really get a hold of that. And tip 3 is work your values into your budget. The first week we talked about what are the things we value most, and we can use our money to increase those things. So as you're budgeting money, see how you can make sure your budget matches your values. Do you value quality time with family and friends? What if you used a few dollars to take them out to lunch or buy ice cream to have a hangout night? Do you value experiences? Budget money for that hiking trip or concert or whatever. You get the point. You budget what you value. And finally, I want to leave you with a challenge to take this lesson and the next lesson very seriously. There is, obviously a lot more practical stuff in this lesson than what we usually cover here, but these lessons can save you from a lifetime of struggling if you take them to heart. And trust me, when you have money struggles, it doesn't stop at money. Those struggles tend to creep into every other part of your life. Money has a way of consuming you if you don't keep it under control. Greed, pride, gluttony, laziness, envy, jealousy, anger, idolatry. The list of sins is a mile long that can all come when money gets involved. So keep money in its rightful place. Don't love it, just use it, and use it for God's glory by giving it, saving it, and spending it. All right, so now we're going to pivot, and we are going to play a board game, actually. We'll split up into teams and play multiple games. And it's a board game about budgeting. And you may like it, you may hate it. You're going to play it anyway. Here is the computer volume on the board? Because there's a video we're going to watch that'll kind of explain how to play it, and then I'll answer any questions if you have them.